Ladies and gents, welcome to the final quarterfinal in Warlords 2, and this might be, for some of you, a bit of a rematch from a series we had seen in previous aspect of this tournament, in the group stage. Viper and Veleza did meet in the group stage, and in that series, Viper was able to win 3-1. Here we have the quarterfinals, and Viper's in the yellow playing as the Malay, and then we have Veleza in the blue playing as the Aztecs. But something that I broke down and showed people before we hopped in here is that Veleza, one of few players to be pretty much even with Viper throughout his Age of Empires 2 career in terms of wins and losses. Oh, shoot. I said I was casting with Nili. Oh, shoot. Hold on. I'm casting with Nili. Hold on. I forgot about Nili. Nili's ready. He sent me a sad face. Hi, Nili.
There he is.
Hi, Nili. Totally remembered.
Totally. Just wanted to make me appreciate it even more.
The sad emote you have it just makes me feel so bad. I apologize. I was just getting so excited though. I'm glad. I was just bringing up how Veleza and Viper are pretty much even throughout their careers against each other, which is really rare when we're talking about the Viper.
Yeah, I think Hera might be one of the only ones that is pretty even. Obviously, Dowd this year is 3-0 against the Viper.
Yeah.
But I think those might be the only three names that could have somewhat of a reasonable stat against him.
Yeah, now the last two times they played against each other, Viper was able to get the win. The one was at one of your events, NAC4, where Viper won 4-3 in a crazy best-of-7. And then the other one was the most recent best-of-5 they played in the group stage in this very tourney. So there was like a 3 or 4 streak there for Veleza over a year or two where he was the kryptonite for Viper. That has changed recently. But Aztecs Malay, a civilization Viper has loved on this map for a very long time. They advance faster to the next stage, and there's lots of fun things you can do with that, whether that's rushing to feudal and going for eco upgrades, or just simply a smooth, fast castle here. But you know, Aztecs taking me back, Nili. We haven't seen Aztecs too much in recent times on this map, but I feel like for certain players, should maybe be picked a little bit more.
Yeah, I think they're still very good on this map. Especially look at that, 2 relics in between the 2 players, and you can play monk aggression, and it's tough for the opponent to find out what's coming behind it, right?
Yeah.
Atlatl scums are nice, eagles can be nice, and Aztecs economy. Still probably underrated because we always talk about the eagles mainly.
Yeah, and so, you know, for Viper, he's got to think, you know, is it going to be eagles? If it's eagles, maybe I'll go Karambit Warriors. Like, I feel like when you're up against Aztecs, you're immediately thinking about how do you defend from the pressure that could come in. And oftentimes when you're Malay, you're the one that could somehow take some level of initiative.
Viper's approach will be the eco approach, though. Here, at least in Feudal Age, we'll get both eco upgrades, and it's just super safe, right? You can never die to any aggression of the opponent this way, and everything runs pretty smoothly. Obviously, we feel timings can be nice for Malay, and also one of the craziest monk counters is the Karambit, because if you convert it, you basically converted only half a unit instead of 1.
Yeah, it's kind of a funny thought. But maybe some level of adaptation is going to be needed for Viper. Based on what he sees. But, I mean, I think him being up to Feudal Age himself at this time is not going to be that big of a surprise to Veleza. And Veleza is almost always going to be going fast castle. I don't think there's a world with Aztecs where it's anything but that. It's more so, is it fast castle combined with eagles? Is it fast castle combined with monks? I would guess maybe a nice mix, but Veleza is not really an extreme player who will go like all in too frequently with monks and whatnot.
Yeah, actually true. I tried to remember a game where Veleza went all in, and I think I can't even remember one.
Yeah.
He is more of the macro guy. I wouldn't be surprised to see like the maximum would be like double monastery, maybe mix in some eagles, but then he would always follow it up with the town center.
Yeah, and I think that's maybe part of why Veleza has possibly been close to being Viper Kryptonite, right? Because like, when's the last time you saw Viper go all in a serious tournament game? It's always calculated aggression with eco balance behind and all these tiny little details like relics and building up towards late game. So I think that maybe Veleza, one of the few players that's been able to kind of out Viper at times, of course.
Which is crazy, right? Because for years we have been saying that's impossible.
Yeah.
Because Viper is the best macro player, at least for years. Lots of people felt that. But it just feels like the decision-making in the mid-game for Villiser is just so flawless. Like, when do we ever see him go for the wrong unit choice, for a heavy miss-micro, for a misplaced production building or misplaced TC? Basically never.
And I think something that both of these players have that separates them from others is a cool head under pressure. They are both so relaxed. Like, and you can see it with both of them. Like, if we interview them, how many times have we interviewed them? Viper, you had a castle on your face and 20 crossbows with ballistics. You had 1 mangonel, but 3 TCs. What were you thinking? And Viper was just like, I'm fine. Veleza, I'm still think I'm okay here. Like, Viper a little bit more wordy than Veleza at times. But, like, seriously, there's just always this theme of they're chill in moments where there could be some level of intensity for other people. And I think that's really important when you're competing, especially. It's not just playing the game. It could be stressful enough when you're playing a ranked game or whatever. But when you're high level, big moments, you know there's thousands of viewers watching. That's where, like, having a cool head is really, really important.
Yeah, and Villiser might be one of the coolest, right? It just feels like he's so in control most of the time. Now goes for some eagles himself, wants to get a bit of map control. And looking at the villagers, this will be probably like 1 monastery, some eagles, and triple TC behind it.
Yeah, and he hid the barracks here, which is a really nice touch, right? He showed Viper the blacksmith market. Now, Viper will know, like, okay, there's no way you're not adding a barracks, but it's smart to not give your opponent a heads up that you're adding the eagles here. So, good decision. Viper is going for scouts behind this and went for the little feudal boom into clicking up the castle age a bit later. But he's going to be up, and Malay spent so little time researching the next age that they get such a nice villager lead here. So Viper's going to have roughly like 5 or 6 villager lead, and could always extend that with his own eco.
And we see already quite ahead in collected resources as well. And Villiser continues with the story of hiding buildings. Monastery, relatively close to the town center, obviously means quite some walking distance for his monks.
Yeah, that's a very good point. And that TC did go on the wood line. That's fairly standard. Where the third TC will go for Veleza does tell us a bit more, right? I think if the TC's on gold, that would indicate more of a eagle siege monk play in castle. If his TC goes up on stone, he might be thinking about a forward or defensive castle. And you can kind of see what Viper's done. This is a castle much earlier than your typical game if you're building the second TC on the stone. So Viper may be worried about a push getting out of hand here against the Aztecs.
Yeah, Viper likes to add the second or third town center on the stone, especially if you want to play some timings. You want to transition your villagers quite nice and early to get that nice castle up, maybe even on the hill there between the two players. And Villiser, well, he technically could also think about the stone, but decides to go for the outside TC on the gold.
Yeah, the first bit of HP getting taken off of a unit there. That was that scout hitting or getting hit by the spearman. And Viper will see this. A little rusty here. He takes another hit and takes another hit yet as he's just getting warmed up here. He does know there's a monk behind the walls, but Velez is waiting. And this is pretty much what we were expecting. Calculated approach from both, but pretty good odds for Veleza to get at least 2 of the relics that are close by.
Yeah, feels very reasonable for him. First one already on the way home. Did he scout all of them? Let's take a look at his vision. Sees every single relic, I believe.
A Viper blocking here, and that is something that Veleza will regret there. I think if he looks at that eagle and sees Viper blocks one time, that eagle's never going to make it in there to kill that monk, and a lot of players would have deleted that eagle warrior. So, small thing there. A scout from Viper in the left corner now. He knows there's a relic there. And he was going in to see if there was a monk, and the monk just walked away in time for Veleza. So nice shot from Veleza to not have that monk exposed.
Yeah, really clever play there. Still has 2 monks that are not working at home right now. And, well, Viper still runs away, took some more hits on his Lightcav. But if you have monks around, you can just heal them up quite easily.
Yep, exactly. That 2 HP Lightcav for Viper will be healed up. Veleza, he did see the relic in the north. Viper did not, actually. So that's notable. Viper just missed out on that, so he might assume that the relic that should be in the north was already taken. But he's going to see the other monk here. That should be a kill for Viper, but the relic's close enough where eventually Veleza could get it. Nice work from Viper, though, to kill the monk. And
Veleza quite out on the map now, and only with 30 HP on his monks, so that's quite ambitious, but Viper gets the relic, so I don't think they will continue fighting for the bottom. Wouldn't be surprised if Veleza loops around to the top, but doesn't decide to do it yet.
I could see stamina being a big factor today. The first quarterfinal was quite long. These guys, neither of them get broken early, usually, right? Obviously, Hideout could also bring us a 2-hour game. So, I guess it might be good that they're getting it out of the way right away, but it feels like with how these players have played, only one unit has died. That might change in the north as Viper loses his Lycav, and now he's going to lose his monk. Well played, Veleza. It just kind of feels so cool and calculated from both. At the same time, Veleza lost a monk, actually, in the south. Wow.
Veleza, I think, right now has a sleeping rhythm close to Jordan. Like, he actually prefers to play the earlier sets.
Yeah.
So I think this might be an advantage, and technically they should be in game 3 by now, right? The first set simply delayed us in schedule quite a bit, so I think advantage on Viper's side there.
Okay, interesting. I mean, it shows us how old our esports scene is. Doesn't it? Like, talking about sleep schedules.
Well,
you know? It's like, well, he's not used to staying up till 1 a.m. playing video games. And meanwhile, all of these players have a history of, like, playing 12 hours a day. But, no, it is definitely a factor, and stamina will be a big talking point as they're both so good with decision-making and, like, execution with their units. And the micro becomes harder once the series goes on longer. So, Malay oftentimes want a timing, forward castle, things like that. I don't think that's going to be super realistic for Viper here. So I don't know. Maybe that's part of his plan, but he expanded to the 4th TC, and he's been very relaxed with army production. He's not really fighting to control the south right now.
He goes heavy army. I'm a bit surprised by this as well. And look at that. He will build a defensive castle, maybe even inside of his walls, maybe opens them a bit. And yeah, he wants to play the late game. Yep. Maybe thinks, okay, I know an army composition that will be really tough for Aztecs. Let's think about ideal army compositions here. Melee, maybe Karambit plus Arbalest?
Yeah, I think that could be good. Like, stable
Elephant
units.
Skirm?
Stable units are more of a surprise, I'd say. Right? Like, if your opponent goes for like lots of Jags or champions or something, then maybe you go elephants. But yeah, Karambits and then ranged units would make sense. We did also cast a game together. I think it was Viper Tato on Hideout, where Viper was melee, and he was happy to go Force Levy and take bad trades with swordsmen that were just very cheap and eventually just last longer throughout the game.
Yeah, if this is a 2-hour game, melee should always win. Unless we were in like a 4v1 relic situation, but that's simply not what we are having. Very likely that Viper in the end will have 3 for himself. Yeah,
did just lose the monk. A nice job from Veleza, though. I mean, both players done a great job here. And the castle goes up for Veleza in an interesting position, right? Because, like, forward castle against the melee, when the melee have already built their castle, could fall into the category of questionable for many people. I think it's just always so difficult. It's like, you need to pressure the melee because the melee are always in it to delay and get the eco lead. But if you pressure the melee, they might just beat you to the punch. And it looks like Viper's going to be set up to do so.
Yeah, this feels questionable. I agree. But this, I think he, obviously, as we said, like, can't play the timing really, right?
Yeah.
Typically, you build the castle at home and get to your ideal army
Viper
composition.
no loom. Viper no loom. Viper house
Doesn't
walls.
matter.
Wow. And that's one of those things. Yeah, he clicked loom, but in those 20 seconds, all those vills would die if he didn't get that quick wall. Like, one mistake there, and 10 vills go down, the castle's delayed, and suddenly we're changing our tune.
No. And also deleting the house instead of the castles. Another thing that's something he won't do, but we could.
Yeah, all too relatable for me. A double castle now for the Karambit production. And, you know, in the past, the Malay, they had to research the armor, which took time. The Karambits get the armor upgrades for free in each age now, which a lot of people, a lot of pros, when that happened, were like, why are we doing this? This is too much. The Malay are already too strong. And not sure where Viper sits on that or Veleza, but it doesn't really matter here. It's going to be 3 castle stack for Viper. Here comes some Jags, but the Jags can't really go underneath the castle fire.
I think a Jaguar 2 hits a Karambit warrior. I'm not really sure what upgrade situation we need, but at least like there are scenarios. And Villas actually takes into champions. Goes for a very special upgrade out of the barracks.
Supplies. Used to scream that a lot more, but it's common now. You know, it's not like it's not surprising. We do still have the Loey the Legends who will research it because they think eating apples is good, and then never make a man-at-arm. But
supplies a day keeps the doctor away.
Exactly. Well, look at this. Both players simultaneously going to stonewall the opposite side with 4 villagers. What in the world? And, of course, Veleza walked right past Viper's walls. I didn't realize because he's so caught up in the heat of the moment on the other side. And I like the thinking from Veleza to plan for champion here. You're not going to be able to rely on Jags because your castle will likely go down. But I think it is also kind of a bad sign that his castle is going down in the first place.
Yeah, agreed. And he's buying himself some time, but honestly, like, those traps, that's quite ambitious.
Yeah.
I'm a bit scared for Veleza.
Yeah, it feels like maybe you got to back up with your trebs here and just kind of cut your losses. Viper has had the perfect game to start off the series so far. And, you know, it really makes you think, like, should Veleza have tried something more? I don't know. Like, there's been a lot of games in these quarterfinals where I can't be too critical of the players who lose. It's just the winner's just playing so close to perfect. And this has been near perfect from Viper, from the eco upgrades to the army. He's going to mix in some archers here. Can he take the trebs out from Veleza?
Look at the villagers of Veleza building the wall. Viper actually walled them in there with his own gate.
That is so funny. To do that while everything else is happening. Yeah. Karambits go in with that armor, remember. They'll go for the trebs. And Viper's using his own trebs right now to try and take out Veleza's trebuchets. Veleza's repairs actually do enough to keep the trebs up.
And that's why you see how weak those Karambits are if they're actually getting attacked. And now the Eagles are moving in. There's not a lot of buffer.
Yeah, Viper could lose all of his trebs. Viper's then stuck on archers. And if Viper starts to lose his castles, he can't make the Karambits that could help against the Eagles. 1 treb goes down for Viper. He's still got 4 or 5 more here. And the Eagles are dying, but Viper's sinking a lot of his stone into repairing this castle.
Ooh, and traps obviously way cheaper to repair than all those villagers on the stone there, but finally a trap dies.
Yeah, trap dies. Veleza figures, I'm going to have Karambits and Arbalest on me. If you look at what Veleza has right now, he's got 4 Jags, 3 Eagles, and then a Karambit he converted. He's not fully teched into champion, and I think the GG comes in because even if he gets champion out, he knows Viper's already heavily committed to archers, and that would pretty much finish it for him. So, you know, good game for Viper here. Had some quick walls and whatnot, which I'm sure he'll be happy about. But, you know, at the end of the day, I mean, it really didn't feel like Viper was ever going to be troubled here with the Malay, and maybe Veleza's relaxed eco approach wasn't what was needed here to have a chance.
40C against Malay, and then still a forward castle, and then trying to contest. There was like triple castle against 1 castle.
Yeah.
I don't think that's how it works against Malay.
Yeah, I think the forward castle was the biggest thing for me. Is just build the castle more defensively, use army to hold the middle maybe, and, you know, Viper ends up coming forward with castles. You eventually hope to push that back. But, like, any alternative approach of trying to pressure, I think, is quite easily defended by Viper because Viper built the TC on stone, which was super smart, right? Like, he's on stone, and then if pressure starts to come in and he sees Eagle Warrior upgrade, Siege, Monks, Viper just sends a lot more villas to stone and builds a defensive castle to defend from it. So, Viper gets the win, as he often does on Hideout, and Veleza will have to plan for some other things. So, I think Viper, between the two of these guys, is the better closed map player. Even though Velez is no slouch. So,
Yeah, I would agree.
as we enter game number 2. Game number 2 on 4 lakes, also known as Cross, depending on the tournament organizer. This is 4 ponds, which are a huge focus, and usually both of these civilizations are actually the best at docking the opponent's pond and defending their own pond. Think about it. The Persians have more HP, like way more HP on their docks, plus the work rate is boosted. The Byzantines have more HP on all of their buildings. And, oh, big thing, Velez has got to get that boar.
Still got 30 food on it, so villagers won't be idle for too long. But, yeah, certainly, like, 20 food lost there, I would think.
Yeah. I heard you, I could tell you noticed it because you were groaning.
Could have been about anything, though. I'm German.
All right. I mean, you said it, not me, so.
Could have been about public transportation. Could have been about the weather. Could have been about food.
All right. I like it. I like the self-depreciating humor, so all about that.
What humor?
Self to. Am I using the wrong word?
No, Tristan, I wanted to say, like, it wasn't a joke that I made.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Is it deprecating or depreciating? Deprecating? I should know this. Neely, I'm going to have to go to you. You're the English expert here.
Deprecating.
Deprecating. Thank you. All right. Neely Aoui, pro player, tournament organizer, host, humor expert, and English expert. That is going to be on your resume.
Well, I only repeated what Chet said. I didn't know the word either.
I just don't know.
What was this word that I never heard before? Humor?
Humor. Yeah, I know. It's a crazy thing. When I get to Germany, I could show you. I could give you a couple jokes to use.
Okay, nice.
So, starting with the extra food and wood, huge for the Persians. I think if any civ is going to have a slightly faster uptime, be able to mix in a little bit of extra army initially, it would probably be the Persians here. On this map, typically that is a barracks and militia. So like the best civs. So I think Persians are good at it, even though it's a little bit against their play style. Japanese, probably the other one. Maybe Malians to come to mind. I don't think Byzantines, because they don't have any wood savings. They don't have any food bonuses. I don't think they usually do that. Normally Byzantines are just getting to feudal and then adapting from there. Do you think these players are really players who are going to sneak villagers to the other's pawns here? Because both players had pretty easy access to walk across the map and try that.
Villager didn't really scout it early, though. Now he sees the dock, and maybe now he wants to send a villager. Oh, he sends one to the south.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean...
every time I play Byzantines, I try to contest 4 pawns. It just feels so natural, like low fire galley versus low fire galley fights should be so good for you.
Viper didn't see the Vil. Like, Viper ran past the Vil, but he was not looking at his scout. And Velez is somehow able to dodge the tigers, too. There are wild animals on this, which is not common for these types of maps, and that can slow villagers down. But, you know, what I've found on the 9 villager start, you have so little time to push your deer and scout your stuff. Velez scouted the dock. He did not scout the barracks, Nilly. And his scout's getting pushed away.
That's really ugly for him. Right? It's also because, like, we have really fast uptimes, right?
Yep.
And that's why you couldn't really scout. I'm a bit surprised. Like, 4 lakes, not really typically the map where you want to push deer. You kind of want to know, where are the docks? What is my opponent up to?
I agree. And I think Viper might feel like there's a villager over here. He's bringing his Vil just in case.
Oh, Viper? Good that he found the berries and not ran into the town center directly.
Yeah. But if Veleza was looking there, he would have been able to see the militia. This is Byzantines. Look at all that hasty vision. And that will give him time to adapt. He's got a dock in the south. He's going to try and dock in the north as well, and still trying to save his scout. But you know, if you're any other civ and you don't have the scouting on the militia here, you could get so punished. Well played from Velez. Veleza, sorry.
Yeah, that's such a fortunate house position there for him, and that he sees instantly. Man-at-Arms not getting the kill. And yeah, Villas is spreading himself quite thin if he actually thinks he can dock the 3rd pond at the top as well and build an archer range.
Yeah, he also wasn't planning on having to make houses as part of these walls. I mean, he's got to be so careful. I think there's a hole there. He noticed it. And it feels like one of those things where for the average player to have to quick wall all of this, it would completely nuke every other aspect of your gameplay. Actually, there's trap potential there.
Yeah. Someone else would have like tried to make something happen, but against 3 men-at-arms and a scout, you can't really trap with a gate.
Yeah.
So yeah, it would have been a bit more ambitious with like triple house there.
Viper goes for a range follow-up, and Archer's already on the way. Veleza just now making a range, and this is just Veleza's focus, right? He's gone for the pond approach. What will be interesting is will Viper, as he finally branches out to another pond, will he see that dock in the south? Because I feel like he's going to see the shorefish, think that's a natural dock position, and never assume that Veleza has docked that side.
Yeah, maybe he gets an outpost there, but yeah, I think he will eventually scout. I would be surprised if he goes like 3 fishing ships and completely neglects the option of Veleza docking, because Veleza's barracks and archery range was really late, right? So the wood has to go somewhere.
And here comes this pressure. I mean, Viper has really had exceptional control. He didn't take a single hit from that spearman. Oh my goodness, he didn't take a single hit from the spearman, and now he's blocking the villagers, and Veleza has to delete the mining camp, and Viper's even blocking with the archer and gets the final snipe. The KD is 4-0 for Viper right now, and he's playing incredible. This is so smooth from him.
That was sick. Oh man, the block with the archer. I wouldn't even think of that. Typically, you try to do the damage with the archer, but the men-at-arms were behind and they were the damage dealers. That was brilliant.
And look what Veleza did. He added a galley with the little gold that he had in the south, and he finds the dock from Viper. So now he's going to end up losing that galley, and that galley does very little for him. And Viper's eco should be superior now. What we're not looking at is everything at home for him right now. And the man-at-arm opening has put Veleza under a lot of pressure. And that's been the trend for me. I've noticed that, like, man-at-arms, it feels like it gives you so much time. If you can get the timings on it, and players really struggle to get every single aspect of the game right.
Well, men-at-arms on 4 legs, right? On Arabia, it feels like kind of a dying strategy because people got so good. Give me 1 archer and 3 men-at-arms will never get a hit off.
Yep.
But on 4 legs, there's just so much happening, and Veleza spread himself so thinly that the archer and skirm was simply so late.
One of my favorite maps, by the way. Like, this map is...
4 legs.
It's in a lot of... It's in a lot of tournaments, I guess, but, like, I feel like this is one of the best maps in the game. Every game, you kind of know what can happen, but every game plays out a bit differently. I love it so much. And Viper's going to sneak a villager to the north because he knows that dock is there for Veleza. And they're competing for water in the south right now. Should remind people, on the left side, Veleza's had fishing ships too, so his eco count actually hasn't been too bad.
Yeah, actually pretty solid. Either TC for Veleza at 3 seconds as well, so...
Crazy.
He kept his TC running.
Yeah. Kept his TC running. Also seems to sense it's awfully quiet. He actually hasn't scouted much of Viper's base at all, but he's scouted every pond, which is kind of fun to see from Veleza here. But he's still alive and might click up to the Castle Age faster than the Viper does. And he's got archers and skirms, and archers and skirms is going to be more than fine against Viper's 5 archers he has right now. Well played from Veleza to bend but not break here.
Yeah, really nice indeed. Skirms, archers, armor not even needed, I believe, with only 5 archers out there. And listen, this is impressive.
Really impressive.
But that's simply because he has kind of 3 lakes.
Yep. Well, the lakes pay off. And obviously Viper will feel pretty good about how the start to Feudal Age went. I think Viper will be a little bit surprised when he sees Veleza's in the next stage. Actually, you know what? If I was in Viper's shoes, I wouldn't necessarily be surprised by the opponent going up faster. I'd be surprised when they added TCs, right? I would assume that maybe like they fell back to use the market, sold all their stone, that the Castle Age somehow came in with some great sacrifice. But that has not been the case here.
But then again, you see, okay, this is your second pond, and you already have... No, this is... Like, Viper knows that Villas is on 3 pawns, and he sees 3 fishing ship in this one. So unlike that, the others have fewer.
Yep.
Fish.
Fair point. Viper only was 7. Viper was able to get his dock down, can still threaten in the north. but he did not kill too much there. Luckily, he's Persians that dock in the south, still giving him a whole lot more time to make more ships there. Counterattack from Veleza. There's a hole in Viper's base. A little awkward for Viper, but he adds the scout, has some range units still, and Veleza just backs away for the time being.
Scout does some damage against the skirms, but 2 archers behind this, still fine as well. And, ooh, Viper goes for CA.
Cav archers. Well, you know, he's probably expecting camel from the Byzantines because Viper's shown the stable, so Cav archer could be an interesting play here.
But is Veleza seeing that? If he goes full skirms, obviously Cav archer, they are benefiting from the new bonus that you get 5 extra gold for every military unit that you kill.
Yeah.
And therefore he feels, okay, that's quite some nice eco boost. But loses another will. 2 builds there lost.
Viper
Maybe
lost
3.
a lot of army, and he lost a lot, had a lot of idle time because of this hole in his wall here. And Veleza, with an amazing response, is going to have time to see the range, like you said, see what Viper will make. Right now, it just seems like Viper's stuck on 3 ranges with no gold. He's just making skirms.
Oh, and no wall. The camel gets in, and a camel is actually fine against the feudal skirm.
Yeah, camels should be pretty sick. And behind it, Veleza dropping the TC, and Viper moves out desperately to try and plug the gap. Maybe he had the time to plug before. Veleza with a beautiful position now to win this game.
Wow, how did that happen? 1 single hole and Viper is in a horrible spot.
Yeah, it's one of those things, right? It's like, it takes one thing. I think this statement a lot of people can relate to. You can play so well, do so good, you make one mistake, and this game will punish you. And that hole there, I think like Viper still has some awkward times with the gold, but he can still take the gold if that hole wasn't there. And he brought his army back through it. You know, sometimes the gate is awkward to place on the hill. Maybe that was part of it.
No, he actually opened the walls and re-walled with a house below his archer range.
Okay.
So he thought it was walled.
Yeah, yeah. There's always a hole, as the Legend Zero Empires started saying years ago.
No.
That has not changed. And Viper wanted Cav archers. He's got no gold income right now. This is brutal.
Oh man, this hurts for him. And pawn-wise, it's kind of confirmed right now that it will be 3 against 1.
Yep. And the transition to the farms are going to happen naturally. Byzantines have really cheap units as we go forward. And for Persians, you think about how good that eco is. And you're going to be selling things at the market to get gold, to make a monk, to hope to get a relic. That is not an ideal eco right now for the Viper.
Viper is calm, right? Most of his villagers are still working. TCs are running quite nicely behind this as well. He is 6 villages ahead, but obviously the fishing ships behind. Right now, 0 military though till we get the first monk.
Someone said, what about 1 ram from Veleza? And like, I feel like it's so tempting to consider it, but when Viper's got a stable and some monks, and by the time you get the ram there, maybe Viper figures something out. Veleza, for now, just using his wood to add in crossbows and mix in farms at home. But he's been in no, like, this. I think this shows you how good Veleza is and how comfortable he can be against the Viper. Because a lot of people take Viper off gold and they YOLO for the kill. And he's just chill.
Where is Viper's 3rd gold, by the way?
It's underneath his TC.
To the right? Oh, yeah, okay.
It's underneath the TC. So Viper did get to gold with that TC. Viper's eco count is actually a bit above Veleza's right now. And he's starting to mass some skirms, which I'm sure he'll upgrade soon. Did not get a relic yet. Ah, man, this feels like forward castle territory from Veleza soon, though. That TC was built on stone with intent. And I think even just a castle on the hill, you could maybe be tempted to build the castle right on the gold and next to the TCs, but if there's any concerns that Viper could maybe deny that, then maybe you just place it where the monk is on the hill, and it's going to be tough to take that out if you're Viper.
Listen knows about the gold positioning, so I think just controlling the gold and playing the late game.
Yep.
You know that Viper will be starved for gold.
Man, Viper using Persian monks. One of the weaker things of their tech tree is the monks. But still a monk. Still can get conversions. Still doing it. Pops out with the skirms, gets some nice kills. Nice job from Viper there. Elite skirm will complete. And he'll kill the monk now from Veleza. Veleza, this is the castle timing. The camels are still going to be able to hold this position for a bit longer, though.
Comparing the archer range, 60 HP, moves away, and archer range goes down. Interesting kill here.
Yeah, a bit of a weird one, right? Viper lost 2 ranges there, but that would make sense. I'm surprised Viper didn't add any siege. Like, yes, Veleza has camel, but if the camels dive for the siege, underneath the TC, camels will die, and players wouldn't stick around there normally because they don't want the monks to convert the camels either. A nice fight for Veleza here. Wow, Viper venturing way too far out of his base.
And you just saw it, right? He patrolled in, tried to click back, and right now with the patch, units continue to move forward for a tiny bit. That's why Viper took more damage, but didn't lose a single skirm, so got away with no murder.
Yeah, so now Veleza has a decision to make. I think you can place a defensive castle and, have that and be fine, right? You could still win this game that way. You've got 2 relics. You've got a smooth eco. Having said that, res collected, Viper's pretty on par. But you also, if you can get the forward castle down, can just straight up dominate Viper in the Imperial Age. So it's decisions to make, and I think after a fight like this, it gives you your answers. Monks go down. Camel's still approaching. I'd like to see the villagers for Veleza come forward right now.
Ooh, Monk drops off the relic, wants to pump fake the conversion, but goes back and now wants to go for the conversion again. Skirm still scaring those away. Castle being dropped.
Yeah, Viper needs to deny this. If this castle goes up, it's normally followed by a Imperial Age of Byzantines, and Veleza's already on the way. Viper wants to drop his own castle here. He doesn't quite have the stone. He's got to drop it off and then start building it. Veleza's castle will not be denied.
Oh, that's really optimistic by the Viper here. That will be some dead villagers, I believe. Goes for the siege workshop. Viper wants to break this with some rams, but he will have no idea that villager already has mangonels prepared and is on the way to him.
Yeah, Viper's castle will go up. It will not be a doubt castle. He will take losses, though. And it wouldn't even surprise me to see Viper go petards. You have to try rams and petards, I think. And there's the first petard. But it's 8 petards to take a full HP normal castle. I don't know. Is it like 11 to take Byzantine castle? I don't even know.
Well, 4, 8, 6, 2, 1, 4... I would say 11 feels reasonable. With some castle fire, 10 should do the job.
What was that math? You're like 10, 2, 8, 4.
Well, it's 4, 8 is the normal HP, right?
Yeah.
And 6, 2 is the HP of a Byzantine castle.
Okay,
so you try to divide 6, 2 by 4, 8.
Oh, okay.
And then you try to multiply that number with 8.
All right. Yeah, that's good. You make it
That's how I arrived at around 11.
Okay. I thought, to me, it felt a little random, but that is spot on. Numbers we have here. Of course, castles from both players are going to contribute. And both players adding rams and petards. Veleza's petard there coming out. But Veleza could make trebs soon. And Viper's petards and rams need to do the job here before the first treb comes out. He doesn't have any way to even kill a treb right now, nearly.
If you ask the Viper right now, how far do you think Veleza is away from him? He said, Veleza had maybe 300 foot.
Yeah. And Ram goes down to the Mangonel. Such a good addition from Veleza. And Viper just calls the GG, realizing what will come from this. There's a good calculated game from the Viper in game 1. Got the win there. Started this game in Feudal. Was incredible. But Veleza played the map. He took the pawns. He stayed alive. And then he was all over Viper with early Castle Age timing. And the Viper, I don't think he played poor this game. But I think he will be a little bit frustrated when reviewing this game later that he allowed that army into his gold.
Yeah, that obviously broke him. But also, the men-at-arms did kill 3 villagers. But if it's 3 against 1 pawn, 3 villagers might actually not be enough.
Yep, absolutely. And that's what's fun about the pros and cons of it. The timing of when you spend the wood. Veleza spent his wood on the dock, Viper on the barracks. Both players found some level of reward. The Viper showing the Persian eco is insane, though, man. Still collected more res, but didn't have the gold controlled. And obviously, he was very much stuck in Castle Age 2, which is a big part of it. So, nice response from Veleza. And I think I mean, I hope the series is just as back and forth as the first 2 games have been. All right, so here we are, game 3. And we think Viper had potentially some mind games here. Late in the draft, Veleza picked the Teutons, Viper's signature civilization for this map because of the cheap farms and the strong cav. And generally being very good against other civs that go for farms and cav, like Teutons versus Franks and Teutons versus maybe Magyars. But here we had Viper pick Mongols last, perhaps expecting this. And to oversimplify it, Nilly, a lot of people at the high levels seem to think the biggest weakness for Teutons is against cav archers. And Mongols have the fastest firing cav archers in the game.
And this is because, obviously, long distance, tough to wall, so you can move around a lot. Cavalry becomes really strong. That's why Teuton knights beat other knights. And cav archers, if you mass them enough, they are nice. But you always need to keep your distance, and that's easier because of no husbandry for the Teutons. Then the question, what should Veleza do next? Is it Scorpion play? Would feel really weird if he ends up going for Knights and Scorpions, and somehow Viper gets a switch to Mangodai.
Yeah, exactly. Because then Mangodai have a bonus against Siege. So I think it's safe to say if Viper gets to Mangodai and he's not significantly behind an eco, this is over, right? I think that's fair. So you have to prevent that. I mean, we have had some wild games in the past. I have some memories flying in of like Teutons going Paladins and Trebs and pushing the Mangodai back, and the Trebs taking out castles and whatnot. But the normal opening here is Scouts. I guess to start there, do you do anything other than Scouts here if you're Viper with all the food? Do you maybe consider opening Archers if you're Veleza because you don't want to go into a Scout war against the Mongols?
Teutons obviously not really having bracers, so in the end, you never want to end up with any archers, skirms going to Imperial Age.
Yeah.
Obviously, you could open with them, but then again, archers means fewer farms, and you're not really playing to the strengths of your civilization.
Yeah. It'll be tricky. I like the pick from Viper. Like, I think win or lose here, both picks from both players are nice. I like the mind game aspect, though, because it was Viper who first did Teutons. There was a whole lot of, what? When he did it, I think, back in one of the early Red Bull events.
The first Red Bull in Game 4 against Mr. Yo. But then, also in Game 7 at Red Bull 5.
Yeah, and it was... Yeah, it was the perfect redemption story for Viper if you followed how things were going with Red Bull, because Red Bull was one of those events, one of the few events that he wasn't winning, and he finally got the job done there with his Teutons. So on this map, we've seen it a lot. There's the barracks for the Viper. Reminder, you cannot wall on the stone terrain, so full walling is not that much of a possibility here for players. And Viper's not even scouting now. Like, he figures this is going to be a scout war. And same with Veleza. Everyone just pushes their deer.
And people more and more get to delay Loom, right? Viper again, no Loom, and doesn't even queue it up. At least starts with one villager.
Yeah. So I like that. That's pretty common with the Mongols.
No, changes his mind. Now Loom.
Oh, yeah, now Loom. Yeah. It's funny how we casted the last series together and someone didn't get Loom. And we were like, oh no, he didn't get Loom. What a mistake. But then here, like, Viper delays Loom, and it suddenly feels okay. It's, like, clearly very situational, right?
Well, with Mongols you can do it, because typically Mongols is up earlier, and therefore having your scout close to Mongols is pretty bad, because they can just chase you down, reaching fuel age earlier, then they have more attack and faster movement. So typically against Mongols, you push more deer, and therefore Mongols can go for a Loom. Yeah,
and Veleza just didn't move forward at all. He pre-walled. Interesting to see the gate. I quite like it, but that's not something you see all the time. There could be a rare scenario where if he's using that gate to send more villagers to wood later, it could open the gate for the enemy, but that's something we expect Veleza to keep an eye on. And Veleza not adding a stable or an archer range, simply going spearman right now.
Putting lots of resources and not going for the farm upgrade either. Is he a bit indecisive? Oh, spear scum.
That may be an indicator that he's concerned Viper will go archers, but I think it just comes back to the matchup, right? Like, you feel like you have to play it a bit differently. Wow, this is so many scouts already. Viper 3 scouts. Veleza's not expecting 3 right now. He really should, though.
Spreads the damage, though. This is good for Veleza.
Whoa.
Gets a scout kill.
What in the world was that? That is a frustrating feeling if you're the Viper. Viper still doesn't see what Velez is doing yet either. Velez gets the quick wall down there as well. Wow, so Viper coming back for more gets denied.
Velez is now heavily on gold. Didn't want to go spear skirm. It will be spear archer. So Viper's archer range with some skirms could pay off quite nicely.
Yeah, I think the order could in theory just be reversed here, right? This is something we've seen decent amount on the Arabia meta. The scout player will go skirmisher to counter the archers. And then once the farm count's good enough for the archer player, they just go into scouts. And then you end up with archer scout versus skirmisher scout. And it would make a whole lot of sense. I do like how Veleza is trying to find a timing here that makes it awkward for Viper. The 2 spearmen, 1 archer is not something Viper can contest against right now until he has skirms. But at the same time, I don't know, like, maybe it won't accomplish anything, and maybe those spearmen would be better suited at home. It's really hard to say.
Base is really tight, right? Your wood is walled, berries are kind of walled, gold is walled, you have 2 spearmen at home. So it is more of an annoying troop. Let's try to maybe find some villagers off guard, maybe kill 1 or 2 deer as well.
Yeah, or even the spearman here. I think you take that. Take that spearman kill. It looks like maybe he doesn't think Viper sees him. But now, yeah, Viper's following, and this is going to be nice, because if you do go scouts later, Viper will have a weaker spear. But I think now he knows he can't be sneaky, and Viper's waiting for him, so he's just going to double back home.
4 farms this whole time for the Viper. Veleza had his first farm placed when Viper had 4, and Viper still has 4, while Veleza is now going for farm number 9.
Kind of a rare play for Viper as well, as players encounter each other here. Viper's going archers. So he's not going skirm, he's going archers, which means it'll be a lot more effective later on against scouts, but also more effective against the spearmen. So that comes at some level of cost for Viper's eco setup. He won't have as many farms because he went for the mining camp. But he doesn't need the food for the skirms either. So I actually like this for Viper. Very nice play.
Also a better transition to then go into CA if he feels like, well, already having lots of villagers on to gold there makes it a bit easier for him. Goes for fletching now, something we already have for villagers. Even goes for armor. Yeah,
armor as well. Makes sense if you're mixing in some skirms. And there's the stable. And the stable fits very nicely. It is also in a good spot for a farm, so I'm not the biggest fan, but maybe I'm not the one to judge farms.
Wants to have it hidden a bit. I think next to the mining camp would have been the only other reasonable spot.
Yeah. And Viper would, of course, see that. So that's a good call here. Both players are going to miss each other here. Viper's going to see Veleza coming forward as he abandons the spears. And Veleza sees the scouts. So damage control needed from both. And it's going to be awkward timings.
Berries.
Viper kills an archer. Viper should kill a villager. But you could tell he's defending himself at home. Because the micro hasn't been great. In fact, at least on my side, Neely, I don't know which side you chose to look at. Both players with some subpar micro on the front just because of the defense.
It felt like 2 villagers were an option there. He got 1 spearman, 1 archer, lost a scout. Lots of low HP villagers maybe can benefit from it a bit later. Yeah,
at the end of the day, though, Viper even switching to a second range. He didn't take any eco losses. And this is a matchup where you worry for the Teutons. So with a 7 to 6 KD, game reasonably even, I would say Viper's going to be pretty happy with how things are looking right now, especially with Veleza running back home and having to drop a tower.
11 against 8 military, and feels like the way better military for the Viper as well. Like Archer Scout transitions quite nicely, and Teutons, they clearly don't want to play mass skirmishes.
Yeah, and you have all this wood you'd like to farm, but you can't really farm anywhere else. So you got to go for the market instead. And that's a good decision from Veleza. If he can hold from this, use the market to maybe click up to the next stage, get there a bit faster, get some knights out before Viper gets to Cav Archer, there's plenty of potential still.
But how can he do this, right? Because he can't really sell the stone, so it's mainly him buying like 200 food.
Yep.
So the difference won't be crazy, I believe.
Yep, and Viper just has to be careful now that he doesn't lose his scouts. The second Viper loses his scouts, Veleza's got a lot of skirms. There could be problems. And Veleza sees the scouts from the Viper, brings the spearmen over. Viper's ranged units are ready, but Veleza has the skirms. Now the scouts need to come over. The spearmen dodge. The micro is actually insane from both of them here. normally prefer the Archer-Scout combination. And Viper's going to take out the Spearman and gets a pretty decent fight here.
And that's so good for the Viper, because he doesn't want to play more Archers and Skirms, right? He wants to switch into CA, but Skirms could be an answer to that if Villiser still had like 15 Skirms left. So this is actually a good investment that he forces into Villiser now.
Yep. And Villiser might need to make a few more. Villiser does click up, though. Viper would just be moments behind. If you didn't see the previous 2 games, but particularly the previous game, you look right now, you see a Viper lead, and you think, all right, this is going to be Viper's game. I understand people thinking that. But remember what Villiser did in the previous game. It was obviously a different map, but Villiser still able to find some advantages with the faster castle. I like it.
Not a lot of Archers left, though. He lost all of them at the front group, the 4 raiding squad or 5 raiding squads next to the Villiser's town center won't achieve too much. And second stable for Villiser, no surprise there. I'm a bit surprised that Viper stays on Archers for so long.
Maybe he thinks crossbow instead of CA. Maybe he wants crossbow camel here. And I mean, that's a tricky thing too. Is like, again, where I think Teutons are typically strong is up against civs that are good knight civs. Like the best matchup against a good civ on this map would be like against Franks, for example. A civ that would go pikes. Teutons have better pikes. Teutons have better monks. Teutons have better knights. But yeah, I mean, you know, the thing about producing these archers obviously is you could have a pretty large mass when you get to the next stage, but the Viper just has to make sure he doesn't lose more archers than he has already. Not too bad, though. The scout will come in to push the skirms back. And Viper's crossbow timing still could be decent enough to deal with whatever knights Villiser sends forward. And Villiser actually goes for lead skirm right now with 7 skirmishers.
Well, he simply lost so many, right? Makes it tough for him. Viper tries to camp the hill, and he might be surprised by lead skirm, but simply because he had so much map control, he had himself gaining a lot of time. And Villiser, I don't think he can push and won't get a good timing.
Yeah, the skirms, even if they're elite, still get pushed back by a scout. Surprised Viper taking this fight and is out here at the moment, but I guess he feels he's got his upgrades on the way. And the knights are on the way, and Viper drops TC number 2 on the left side on the gold. Wood on the front, very exposed for Viper. I could see if Villiser can defend nicely, a couple knights randomly running into this wood could be a big problem for him long term.
And interesting that Viper builds the TCs at the side, right? One at the stone, one at the gold.
Yeah.
That means this wood line in the center cannot be towered or TC'd.
Yep, you're exactly right there. Viper, though, maybe expected his opponent would go Teutons. Pick the Mongols for that reason. Not going for Cav Archers now, but maybe thinking about a better version of the Cav Archer, the Mangadai, which is one of my favorite units. I don't know about you, but it's a fun one.
Used to be better. Used to be even more fun.
Yeah, true.
The good old days.
But I think the nerf was correct. If you go back and watch old Mangadai 0 frame delay, those things were nuts.
Well, it was one of the most broken units for lots of years that we played with them.
Yeah. And the Mongols now have a couple other things to work with as well, of course, with the Step Lancer. So another game where it's pretty chill for them, but Viper finds his way forward. Remember, he does have to be careful if skirms find these crossbows. He doesn't have knights nearby. And he might choose to go to the hill and think hill advantage is good, but then he sees the skirms. Nice finds for Viper, though. The knights and the camels and the scout going to find some villager kills on that stone.
That's where he fought earlier, right? So he knew that Villiser could expand there. And that will be 3 dead vills, 4 dead vills?
Yeah.
3.
That can't go into the wood line. There's a TC there. Monk's also on the way for Villiser. Viper also traded a few crossbows away, so he ran into the skirms there.
Oh, but those 5 knights in the center, I think they actually could have achieved something. Bloodlines, 1 armor upgrade. It was only 1 knight, 5 crossbow, 1 skirm.
Yeah, that's pretty sick from Viper to get those house walls down. I think like Viper sooner rather than later needs to find another wood line in the back and plan on moving away from this. For now, his eco balance is fine, but yeah, he's actually going to do it on the left TC here, Nilly, and just place a lumber camp there. That's smart, because it's going to get really awkward on the front soon.
Where are you building your castle if you're the Viper? You have to build it in like a minute, 1.5 minutes. What's a good spot?
Well, so it does depend on the army advantages you have. but I think never a forward castle if you're Mongols. Always a defensive
Yeah.
one. So I would say the TCO where the stone is, that hill right there with controlling 2 golds in that area would feel really reasonable. Oh, big fight. Massive fight here in the middle of the map. Viper's unit's not really engaging. Veleza was not prepared for that, and Veleza wanted to go for a forward siege workshop that he might need to back up for now.
That was so important for Viper. Because if there's a siege workshop, then Viper kind of has to build the castle in the center.
Yeah.
And then it's a bit more tricky where he wants to defend. I wouldn't still be surprised if he just builds it between the gold and the stone where we just have the crossbows. Because that controls 2 valuable resources, plus also protects the woodline.
Yeah, maybe next to the ranges. There's another gold there. Like, the castle, I suggest it is a bit further back, and he might want more control than that. And I think things have gone kind of according to plan for Viper here with the matchup, right?
He likes your castle.
All right, there we go. And the thing is I would be placing my castle there, but I'd be down by 18 villagers. But the castle spot would be correct, all right?
It's risky though, right? Why is he moving out to the right-hand side now? Like, left-hand side just feels so open. The wood line, the deer there. Okay, he pulls the villagers away. That was necessary.
Yeah, Viper probably feels as though the castle and the TCs will protect him. Yeah, leaving the wood line now is important. So now he doesn't feel exposed, which is why he can counter. He's going to do the same thing. The knights and the camel to the stone.
Nice.
Veleza reacts. Good reaction time, honestly. I would maybe have lost a few more before reacting. And now Veleza's going to push forward.
Crossbow still alive.
Oh,
Quite
big attack round
reasonable
potential.
numbers.
Big attack round potential. I think Viper noticed the Mangonel. Veleza just noticed the crossbows. Gets the attack round. A lot of those crossbows are weak. And nice shot there from Veleza, but good work from Viper to realize it.
Herbal medicine time. Send them to the castle.
Is it worth it?
No, but he will do it. It's not worth it, but he will do it.
Yeah? Did he cue it?
No. Not yet.
Okay.
I'm not even sure if Mongols have herbal medicine, so...
I think they probably do. But, you know, these crossbows, if they could snipe the knights and snipe the monks, that would be nice. The Mangadai are on the way, but Viper does not want to have to show them yet. He wants to wait and buy himself as much time as possible here with the other army.
No ballistics for Villas, obviously, really hurts him. Can't really chase down those crossbows too nicely.
Yeah, he's bringing villagers forward. He wants a forward castle on Viper. That's not a lot of villagers to build a forward castle, though.
I'm surprised as well. What is that, 5 vills?
Yeah. He did kind of the same thing in game 1. Maybe that's a weakness of his. He doesn't like to commit a lot. Yeah, Mangadai are on the other side, and there's no bloodlines for Viper yet, which is a big, big thing to miss here. He might think that he has it. That means less HP on the Mangadai and the Knights. Should be getting that, and he's just going to scramble down the defensive castle in front of his farms. Viper knows, if I get to Mangadai and this goes late, I will win this game. That's what he feels anyways. And Veleza probably feels the same, which is why he wants a forward castle for Treps.
Viper even yoinks one of the relics, wants to play the super long game, now raids with his Mangodais, and that castle is not aggressive enough. I don't think he can pressure the castle. Oh, crossbow's in danger.
Oh, goodness gracious, Viper. He's gotten to some vulnerable areas with his crossbows, but he splits away from it. And of course, he's going to find villager kills with the Mangadai at the same time. Didn't lose a single crossbow here, nearly.
I have no idea. I have no idea how.
Ridiculous. And Mangadai come in, see the siege, split away as well, splits into the shot, still can take out the siege. That's Mangadai for you. Trades a Mangonel for a Mangadai, and is also raiding the stone with the same group again. Like, this is crazy play for Viper.
And a scout also finds a villager kill. This is crazy. Viper fights at 4 different spots right now.
Yeah. It reminds me of, I was watching your cast of Leary Viper in group stage. Viper hit Leary in 4 different spots. It was Inca's Chinese, if that jogs your memory. And it was just so good. But again, he has that setup, right? And like, you've seen Viper play extremely well this game and get a slight lead. But when the lead extends, that's where he just finishes you.
Yeah. And now the big problem is, like, Villiser doesn't have a single good unit. Skirmishers, good against Mangadai, but if you're missing Bracer, so bad.
Yeah.
Paladins, a good unit, but if you're missing the speed upgrade, you can't really close the distance.
And the castle has to be close enough to the castle of Mongols where your Treb is protected by the castle fire. Because if you have to move out where he'll have to move out with the Trebs, Megadai shred the siege. And the problem is, let's say he even takes out one castle. Well, Viper's still going to have 2 more, maybe 3 more. Like, Viper's on stones in the north. Viper's kind of all over the place, so it seems extremely tough. And this is the spot, the game, where Viper felt like, if I can get here, Teutons have no chance.
Viper is building a castle, though, that is trappable, and Villiser builds another castle at the right-hand side to potentially trap the other castle. So I think he's putting himself into a nice spot. And if we are losing all 3 castles here, Villiser again is in a brilliant situation.
Yeah, and Imp is faster, right? So I think, like, ideally you make 2 Trebs, you use... Hopefully the skirms for now can do good enough damage for you with ballistics being in. Viper with some split micro. Megadai should take that Mangonel out, no problem. 1 HP. There has been a miscalculation, but yeah, like, decent enough engagement. He'll find some Megadai kills as Viper's ventured forward, and he's got Trebs coming out. So maybe Velez is giving himself a shot.
Also a lot of dead Mangodai. If Viper went to the north, that could have been lots of kills, but obviously couldn't know that. And Viper, I think, even further back castles make more sense. And yeah, that's something I really like.
Yeah. Again, you could be okay with losing 1. I also like how Viper has his food eco set up. He's got 40 on food, and so he's thinking Light Cav, as Light Cav can help. Mongol Light Cav, especially with the extra HP, so good against the skirms. And then the raid potential, right? Like, poor Veleza, he has to go forward castles here. He is wide open to raids, so he better be pushing those Viper castles down so fast that Viper can never think to raid him.
And those crossbows are still alive right inside. Villiser wanted to expand there, now has to build the defensive tower. That could be some dead villagers if Viper realizes it. But actually, those crossbows just on stand ground and chilling.
This is one thing I can be critical of with Viper here. It's being late to the armor here for the Light Cav. I feel like that's being their Feudal Age armor upgrade. He had the time to get that and the Castle Age armor upgrade, in theory, before he was in Imp. Now that's going to take him a bit more time, puts him under a bit more pressure, and still doesn't even have Bracer for the Mangadai yet. Remember, Elite Mangadai is an expensive upgrade to get. We're thinking about the potential in the long run. Velez is hoping to ruin that. So there's a chance here, maybe, but Viper's little counterattack going to be hugely effective.
Yeah, that's so nice. And, well, the main answer simply is skirmishes, right? Skirmishes, how much? 6 damage? Skirms? Yeah, armor would still do a lot for them, so Viper would be well advised to tag into that. Viper with a 40 population lead, but it all comes down to how much damage those traps will find.
Yeah, and the counterattacks are just destroying, and you have to defend, but you can't defend if you're Veleza, because the second you send anything home, Viper's going to pounce on your traps. You're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't here. Viper seems to know it, and Viper slowly whittling Veleza down here from multiple angles and just waiting for a chance at those trebuchets.
And Villi's economy is not great, so all the villagers that he uses at the front aren't pretty either. And now Viper has 4 traps and a full HP castle. He will just snipe down the traps.
Yep. And there's no real upgrade you can get here. Nothing you can really do if you're Veleza to stop that fact. Viper happy to repair with his greater economy. Spend the stone on that is no problem. And the Mongols aren't even in their final form yet, right? Like, these units are far from fully upgraded. A big problem for Veleza now.
Light Cav poking a bit, and now the traps are dying. Only 2 traps left, and Veleza needed to constantly produce traps out of those 2 castles, but his economy simply was not there, and that is a big defeat for Veleza there, not taking down the castle.
Yeah, absolutely. And it might just mean we're moments away from the GG here, because once he starts to lose his castles, that's his potential to push. Bombard cannons, I like the idea against any other Civ to try and snipe the Trebs, but that's not going to be doing much for him. Very defensive castle. Veleza is a player I've always felt like who very quickly comes to the conclusion, I'm dead, let's just resign. There's been a lot of people who've said early GGs when Veleza's playing, for example. I'm surprised he's playing on here. He's got a lot of self-belief at the moment.
Score is not looking too hot for him. It just feels like one final blow is missing.
Yeah. The
I
Viper.
think once he sees Elite Mangudai, maybe. Once he sees the Hussar tech, maybe. Once he loses his second forward castle, maybe.
Yeah, and that, that castle goes down, Trebs will be exposed. And losing the Bombard Cannon would do it for me. To 5 units, I'd be like, yep, I'm out of here. And that's exactly what happens here. Honestly, as over the last couple of minutes, it became very obvious that Veleza was dead. I was just thinking more about it. And it really feels like Viper's wins today have been largely strategic, but largely draft-oriented, right? Like, Melee against Aztecs, I know it's not as bad a matchup for Aztecs as this one might be for the Teutons. But Viper played it in a way where it really felt like he didn't think there was any way Aztecs could win, and Veleza didn't know what to do. And then again here, it just felt inevitable the whole way through that Viper was going to win this one, whether that had to do with the Civ, or just maybe Viper's comfort with this Civ.
Yeah, I don't really know how Teutons can play this. I think this is... I don't want to say a Civ win, because I feel like Teutons still have a nice economy. I just feel like if you open archers, you're not playing your civilization to full potential. And then those tide walls next to your town center, I think you need so much farming space. And mass scouts might be a way to play. But then again, if you play mass scouts and reach castle age, you can't even upgrade to light cav.
Yeah, it's so tricky. And I think, like, having been there before, if there's any question on Veleza's archer opening, I think he does it because the matchup just completely is confusing for him, right? You feel like you have to do something different than what Teutons are actually good at to have a chance at beating the Mongols. Mm-hmm. And obviously didn't work out here. Viper goes up 2-1. Great series from the Viper thus far, but like we saw in game number 2, Veleza could easily respond. A Viper, 10k more res collected. And he was so far away from the actual strength of the Mongols. Like, didn't have Hussar yet. Elite Mangudai didn't come in. Chemistry. The drill upgrade. The siege rams. The siege onagers. Mongols are just so insane. It's 9 villagers and only 9 villagers for the Viper. So, of course, 9 villagers start in this tournament. Here we are, game 4. It's Nomad. Viper goes for the DLC civilization, the Georgians. And when the TC completes, wherever Viper chooses, he will get a mule cart from the TC. And that mule cart works as a lumber camp, a mining camp, or actually a mill specifically for deer, not for farms or for berries. Koreans for Veleza. He used this Civ on Nomad against Doubt in their Decider in the group stage. He's very comfortable with it. I like the Koreans pick in the realm of the whole draft, right? Veleza's not a player who drafts early for Nomad. Picking Koreans kind of in the middle of your plans feels very nice.
Yeah, Koreans are really good on this Nomad version, right? You start with 9 villagers, and all of them already have the vision, right? So you see quite a lot of the map. This is actually like spawning kind of in a line, so not the craziest vision for him, but also wood discount, nice for your water. Towers are quite nice, and they're simply not picked that highly. So squeezing them in as number 4 or 5, and you have a really solid Civ.
Yep, finds the boar right away. I found that with the 9 villager Nomad, players just, since they have more vills, they walk around the map more. And so they encounter things, and it makes the start maybe a little bit easier. But I also think the Nomad generation has been really good. I've never really seen too many awkward gens. And players normally able to find the boars. Things are pretty consistent. Viper brings in his boar right after Veleza's done so.
Yeah. I think, this is certainly one of the best Nomad versions we had of all time. Also, interesting decision by the tournament hosts and map makers that there's never landlock, right? So water is always accessible around the whole area, and that makes fighting for water a bit more important and more viable.
Yeah, I do also, I really like the ponds potential. It allows a little bit more variety, right? Because when you have this type of version where there's no landlock, you're almost always going to see Navy, right? Because you know you're going to find the opponent's fish. But the extra ponds, Yo used it perfectly against Jordan, for example. That allows for some creativity and the need for players to scout a little bit more.
Yeah. I like it a lot. And also that it's limited, right? In some generation, for example, TTL, we had them really big sometimes.
Yeah.
And I know one game against Magugu where I just docked the center and had like 12 deep fish and could basically get Portuguese fast imp just with the pawn in the center.
I think I remember Margugu's message in the Discord about that, about this Nomad version, you know.
He was not happy that he ran into 6-layer fortified Stonewall in 4 Vitoria. Good game.
I'm glad that gave you some memories, Nilly. I'm glad. That's funny.
TTL, best tournament ever.
Oh man. Well, you know, Viper doesn't really need to use this mule cart to drop off the wood for now because he is next to the wood. It looks like right now he might be rolling over to the golds. No, I think he's just scouting with it, honestly, because he already sees the gold on the right-hand side. But one thing we didn't mention, Viper docked northeast, and then very much in the west is Valeza's dock. Valeza has not located Viper's dock with the sheep scouting on the shoreline. And Viper also did not locate the dock from Valeza.
Yeah, both players really struggling for sheep. Kind of interesting. Viper has 4 sheep under his town center. That is quite surprising to me that he didn't use them. Typically, like, you just send them around the shoreline, and then you know how you want to approach the water.
Yep. So yeah, town center's very close. Dock's a bit further apart. So make things interesting. And there's still some level of mystery here. Viper, I think, knows that Valeza's probably where that house is. But Valeza maybe lost a sheep. It's actually interesting. Where Valeza could have lost his sheep is near that middle pond. And so he could think that losing that sheep was Viper docking somewhere there. Because he hasn't seen Viper dock anywhere else.
But then again, he sees how small this pond is, right?
Yeah.
Look at, like, it's not getting much thicker at the edge there. So he knows this has to be a small lake.
I assume this is a misclick from Valeza to make a mill there. It's the shorefish and deer, I guess.
Is this for Fast Castle? He's on gold. He has 500 food. He goes second dock. Is this galley Fast Castle?
Yeah, it seems like it. Viper
it's
is...
not a misclick.
Viper's on stone, by the way, with the mule cart in the north. And he's also double docked, so he's going to add fire galleys first to kill fish. Actually, I think they're both going to do the same thing. Imagine that between these two players. It looks like the exact same build, except for it's fire galleys for Viper and galleys for Valeza.
Yeah, obviously galleys, the preferred choice there for Koreans, because in relation to gold, it costs more wood, and if you have a wood discount, you kind of want to go for that unit.
Yeah. I think also you don't necessarily feel comfortable going into a fire galley war if you can't make demos. And that is the case for the Koreans. And the TC has been spotted. Valeza deletes what's left of that outpost. And Viper almost killed the villager there. But that is like... That have me a little bit worried if I'm Viper and I'm seeing outposts around the front of my base. This is what's fun about Nomad. If there's a starting scout, then this doesn't happen. But there's no scout, so the outposts add a ton of value in vision.
First fire galley goes in there. Valeza sends the villager away, sends the fishing ships away, and the 2 galleys are not used for defense. They are being used for sniping fish.
Yeah, and we'll see if Viper spotted that. Also,
it doesn't matter. Like, he's super far away. Yep. Galley on the other side, no galleys in production.
Ooh.
Like, Viper is destined to lose at least 1 fishing ship.
That's a very fair point. And then fires behind this for Valeza, and I think Valeza will keep most of his fish alive. That's interesting. So Viper wanted to kill fish and then just give up on it, right? But I think this is possibly an argument for why you see people either go fast castle with no water or just go full water, right? With nothing in between. At least a better attempt from Valeza, better eco balance from Valeza here, from what I'm seeing. And
is this a Monaspa play? I'm shocked. How good are Monaspa against war wagons? Do we by any chance know their pierce armor?
I know their HP is less than a knight. So the lack of HP would be an argument against the Manaspa. They're like glass cannons, right? Less HP, and then they also have the high attack. It's 3 pierce armor, I'm being told.
3? Normal have 3 pierce armor? Ooh.
Apparently he's...
3 base. That's solid.
Yeah, there's also a Manaspa bug, which Viper's not going to necessarily try and abuse, of course. No. People are saying 2 base Pierce Armor. Never mind. But, like, they do destroy buildings very quickly, so... that bug hasn't been fixed yet, so if Viper ever has to attack a building, which, of course, you have to do naturally in a game, it could help him break through the walls.
Yeah, but it seems like a defensive castle will do the play. Villis not really going for the walls, but could certainly lose outposts and straggler houses a bit easier, and actually has quite a lot of like buildings randomly positioned around the map.
My thing is, regardless of like how strong Manaspa is, it costs food, right? And imagine if this was like a civ that's a bit more known than the Georgians are right now. The Lithuanians, let's say. With the latest, you need food, right? And so Viper's going to get his castle, but I don't think he can realistically make that many Manaspa. He could maybe make 1 or 2, and then at that point, he's going to have to think about other things.
But that's where the Minuka will shine, right? You can, after collecting 650 stone, or 450 stone to get to 650, just use the mule card and get every single deer spot on the map.
Yeah, like he is in the north right now, and he's running into ships. Picked the wrong spot, but he's already thinking about it. It's just really fun. It does drop off the food at the mule cart, goes right back to stone. But where will this castle be? You know, this is a map where you see a lot of forward castles. And Viper's going to build his castle there with the knowledge that his opponent was pretty close by. He doesn't know that is the gold that Velez is taking. I think Velez has a decision to make on what he does here. Does he drop the castle immediately next to his gold to protect it? Or is he scared of the Manaspa and builds the castle more defensively?
I would protecting the gold makes lots of sense.
Yeah, I was gonna say I would.
That's what he does.
I would build it, and I would build it with all my villagers. Because one Manaspa coming out here could still kill a couple of villagers.
It's really easy quick walls, right? It's 4 palisades, and the Manaspa going there, and you see it with your mill and house.
They produce so fast, Nilly! They produce so fast, really easy quick walls. Holy crap, I didn't realize they produce so quickly. Viper's attacking the outpost. Viper. Oh, man.
Check bonus use.
If this is against me, he goes directly towards the vills. 100%.
But you are a quick wall master, no?
Well, maybe it's because I'm not. Fire's here for Veleza. In defense, this is where Viper's focus is. He wants to make sure that Veleza doesn't have many fishing ships. Good snipes there from the Viper. And, I mean, you still have hunt villagers dropping off the food at that mill for Veleza. It's so risky. He could lose all these villagers. He doesn't lose many. He moves away. Wagon's on the way now, Nilly.
Okay, fortified church to protect the gold there. Nice positioning. Relic will be dropped off. So war wagons, I think, still could run under it. I think fortified church is doing like 1 damage?
Yeah.
Yeah, 1 damage.
And then, like, you can garrison vills inside of it and shoot more arrows, but I have not found the output of fire to be that insane.
It's not intended, right? It's more of a shelter place than a real tower, for example.
75 HP before Bloodlines on these Manaspa. 12 attack. And quick walls for Veleza. And quick walls not happening. And Viper going to find some value eventually. And monks will be needed here for Veleza to get some conversions. Nice job from Viper.
Okay, monk out. Could be a kill. Could be a conversion. No. Manaspa running away.
Yep. Still villagers on stone for Veleza, which is with intention. Typically, you'd switch a bit off of stone if you're thinking more food and wood eco. So this is most likely for an eventual follow-up castle for Veleza. Viper with 6 Manaspa now. And Viper's just looking around with the 3. Veleza trying to be a greedy boy and get the relics. That could be a conversion, though. And Viper's going to kill that monk, no problem.
Yeah, nice pickup for him. And gets more value from those Manaspa than I would have thought initially.
So someone's saying the bug makes Manaspa deal extra damage against archers, camels, showtails, and buildings. War wagons have archer class. I'll be curious to see how much Manaspa actually does versus a wagon here. But yes.
Ooh. Someone in my chat actually said it only works if you have a bigger group of them. So they need to have their...
Oh, the extra attack.
Extra attack.
Yeah, which they'll get if they're in a large group. And we're going to see units switch sides here, and conversion happens on both sides, and the Manaspa doing a pretty good job. Monks can garrison, and the snipe happens anyways, but still, I think Viper won't be too upset about how this fight has gone for him here.
Yeah, really happy, actually, right? He decimates the war wagon count down to 1, maybe even does more damage there. I think he can't finish off the job, though. Or maybe he can.
Remember, Manaspa also... I was corrected the other day. It's not 40 gold, 45 gold. So compared to a knight, much cheaper. And Viper's food eco has been pretty decent behind this. He also stopped the fish booming from happening for Veleza. It's only been 3. So Viper with 11 army. It's only 2 for Veleza, who wanted to have an army mass, some monks to combine forces, and build a forward castle. Look how fast these houses are going down. That's the bug.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's the bug.
Yeah. And you can't, like, it's important to not build the castle too far forward. Like, Manaspa could dive now. No, okay. Now it's not possible anymore, but you can't build it in the face of the Manaspa.
Yeah. Well, you know, the tricky thing, too, is, like, Viper's not trying to abuse a bug. It's literally, he has to attack stuff, right? It's not like other things where there's other ways to get around it. You make this a war unit. It's just, you know, it's been bugged and hasn't been patched out yet. So I think, like, if Viper were to find an opportunity where he could, like, one-shot a castle foundation because of the bug, I would like to think he wouldn't do it because he's like, that's unnatural. Whereas like with the house thing, you can't really help that.
Yeah. Also, let's think about it. It is known for multiple weeks now, right?
True.
And it has been used in the tournament, and admins, tournament hosts actively decided to not ban the civilization.
Yeah.
Plus, you have 4 bans.
Yeah, 4
so
bans
if you feel
available.
like you don't want to play it against it, there were plenty of options.
Yeah, exactly. It just is what it is, you know? And Viper's like, I gotta do something. Doc's going down now. What's he gonna do? He needs to fight. It's a war unit. And the unit is unfortunately bugged. And like you said, it's not new.
Yeah, you sound a bit like MBL. MBL's feedback on my laming should not be allowed video. It's a war game!
And Viper actually leaves the 1 dock up on 30 HP, which is actually quite nice for Veleza. He gets a little bit more food. I think Viper's reacting to the guard tower he sees now. And here come the Manaspa, and there used to be a big ball of war wagons before. Do you remember that, Dilly? These Manaspa get extra attack by creating more units in the same group. You get extra attack for just making more units. There's also damage against buildings. This tower is going to do nothing here.
Yeah. Not even murder holds, right? And we'll see Veleza dancing a bit, but that tower goes down mighty quickly.
Yeah. Maybe Veleza doesn't know. Because I feel like a tower is the last thing I'd want to do if you knew that how fast these towers were going to end up going down. And this is really rough for Veleza right now, but he still has the eco lead. That's the crazy thing about it, you know? He's still in a really good position otherwise. And Viper's going to drop another castle. He's worried about this.
Well, he also simply wants to produce more Manaspa, right?
Yep.
Second castle certainly helps with that.
Yeah, you get +5. You get +1 attack for every 5th cav unit in the group, I think is what it is. So if you've got 10 units, which Viper has here, he's going to have plus... So it says +1 there. I don't know.
Maybe
the more units you get, the more
units?
attack you get. It's a lot of attack. Maybe it's every 6th unit. Because it's like 5 on top of the original 1. Viper's castle's going to go up. War Wagon's back away. And Viper roaming around with the Manaspa on the right side right now.
Let's see what they can find. One villager on the deer, some other villagers at the bottom there. Viper only now goes for armor. Could be an easy kill. And finds more villagers on the farms. No reaction by Villas yet.
Yeah. No reaction whatsoever. Does react now. Yeah, so I think if Viper actually had 1 more, he'd have 1 more attack on all of his units in that group. I think that's the way it works. And Capture Age does show it now. Capture Age didn't show it in the past, but Capture Age now updates it. And the Cav for Georgians also regenerates in HP. So it's pretty wild. But still, as new as it is, right? And as instinctual as it may be for some people to be like, new civ, bug, whatever. Les is up to Imp. He's clicked up. He could make another castle. If he can make Trebs, Nilly, he could take down these castles and then no more Manaspa for Viper.
No, that's going to be sick. The question, though, How can he protect those traps? He has 4 monks. That might actually be his best chance.
Yeah, that's true. Like, the trebs could just be completely sniped. Viper, by the way, now has 18 Manaspa, and it's +3 attack. This is before attack upgrade. So 15 attack in Castle Age. And making a stable 4 bloodlines.
15 attack for a 45 gold unit. It's pretty ridiculous.
It's pretty wild. And it produces in 11 seconds. Which is like half the time of some other units that are cav units. Veleza, not his first time experiencing this. Or not his first time seeing the Civ, but maybe his first time actually experiencing this many Manaspa. Yes?
Viper could snipe the MTC. Manaspa killed this TC in like 3 hits.
It's gonna happen.
This could be the MTC.
It's gonna happen.
63%. Tristan, hold my hand.
I'll try virtually. 1, 2, well, okay, not 3 hits. Lots of hits here. Viper's going directly for the MTC. The monks are on the way. You gotta keep this TC up to have a chance if you're Veleza. TC down.
Oh my god.
So, Imp still gonna come in. Veleza gets the refund. He gets the resources back. Thankfully, you don't lose the resources, but that obviously delays his timing. And he instantly clicks up in another TC. I'm worried he might lose that one eventually.
Viper just needs to run away from the monks and can take out all the TCs.
Yeah. This TC, he could get trapped in here, but then he would kill all the villagers, I suppose. Gonna find more kills as Veleza feels like he's not even playing the same game as Viper right now with this unit on the field.
Oh,
what in the world?
Fix wheelbarrow. That's optimistic, my friend.
What in the world? It's not like this is Imperial Age. This is Castle Age right now. He's got 14 units. It is a different game with these things on the field. And, I mean, wheelbarrow might end up coming in, but oh, so many villagers die there for Veleza.
And after the conversions, yeah, obviously Viper does not see if there's something researched. That's only something we can see in Capture Age.
Yeah. Imperial Age will come in, though, for Veleza. Wouldn't it be something else if Veleza still wins this game? With Bracer? And like...
It's not unreasonable.
And like 10 wagons with a couple monk conversions here or there. Could be pretty decent. And, I mean, Viper's spending a lot of his food and his gold on this unit right now. What a crazy storyline that would be. Veleza's still winning the game against all this stuff.
And look at Veleza. Like, he wants to go imp twice. Look at his resources.
Yeah.
He just wants to make sure. Multiple TCs, multiple imps. One of them will survive.
Yeah, and he could go... Yeah, he could go Halb, right? Obviously, this is going to be a ton of attack now. So Viper's going to have... He's got +4 attack. No attack upgrades, people. He's getting attack upgrades now. All this attack is simply by making units. Oh, man. And Viper made a lot of units here. It did come at a cost. He'll see Imp for Veleza. His thinking will be sniping Trebs nearly.
And sniping some more TCs, right? Because now he has 2 more attack than with the last raid. It was 12+3, now it's 12+5.
He should snipe the university, too. Deny the upgrade. I'm not even kidding. Chemistry's a big upgrade. Yeah, take the university first. This is... This isn't...
God.
This is just... a Civ you've got to ban, apparently. That we don't have to deal with this. And Pike upgrade on the way for Veleza. But hey, TC didn't have many villagers around it anyways, so who really cares, right? Also, on the left side, Viper underneath the castle there. There's a Treb beyond that Viper might end up finding. Viper's got 34 Manaspa.
Yeah, just full play there. And I think now he might be looping around trying to go for...
The Treb.
The Treb?
And or the monks.
Those monks are the crucial units.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that Veleza did not tech into Halbs, but he has 0 villagers on gold right now. He couldn't afford it.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, and Halb's pretty expensive upgrade, especially when you've been raided like this. Viper's going to take out the castle on the left side. Before you know it, this bonus, this quote-unquote bonus damage, this busted damage, the bug damage is doing so much, and Viper might understand Veleza doesn't have that gold. He's like, make a decision. Defend your gold, defend your woodline, defend your trebs. Which one are you going to do? And Veleza just can't defend it all right now.
Viper's diving against the monks. Is he?
He
Jumping
is.
into the TC is important. He gets some conversions, but if all the monks go down, those Manaspa will not be stopped.
Yeah, when you get a conversion, by the way, you don't get the attack that Manaspa had when you converted it. You don't get the +5.
It counts your group.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yep. The Viper does not take out the castle on the left. He denies the TC on the right. And it's at 99.4%, and it's just going to be destroyed.
It jumps at the front, Tristan.
Manaspa on the right and the left of this castle, hoping for the Trebs. Veleza can't make more Trebs if these go down. He's going to lose these Trebs. Viper has 125 pop. He's already up 3-1. And Viper is still in Castle Age, but with a 40 eco lead now with this crazy unit.
That feels so crazy.
Yeah.
Third castle for the Viper. He might not need him.
Yeah.
He just needs castles.
Just more Manaspa, yeah. Man, I feel really bad. The situation's so awkward, right? Like, it wasn't banned from the tournament, despite the bug being out there. The ban obviously could have been there in the draft for Veleza. The pick is allowed for Viper. You got to use the unit and the stats that are available. It's new. It's not fully figured out. Like, it's a weird situation to encounter, you know? But, like, I gotta hand it to Veleza that the fact that he's still kind of in this game with the potential to push is wild to me. Like,
he had 14 conversions. That's probably 14 Monaspa. At one point, he had 9 Monaspa himself.
Yeah, seriously. And he's just gonna keep doing the same thing here. Viper shows up, and
wow,
we see the GG for Veleza. I think he realizes. And whether or not he knew before about the damage on the buildings, he certainly figured out there. That is insane. Aside from the potential additional damage, you got 12 plus 5 attack on Cav available in the Castle Age. 17 attack, and this new Civ the Georgians. Pretty insane. And it's maybe the first time you've seen Viper in Castle Age losing a castle versus Trebs win the game.
yeah,
right?
That's so sick.
Yeah. Oh, feels so bad for Veleza. But Viper, well within his right to do it. His best unit the Georgians have for sure, and that was the unit he relied on. And I think the early moments there for Veleza in Castle Age, honestly, a couple more conversions keeps the monks alive. Maybe the wagons as well. Remember that one fight he had next to Viper's fortified church where he lost 5 or 6 of his wagons? I think with more wagons and a couple more monks, all other things aside, Veleza could take this game. And just wasn't able to keep his numbers alive.
Yeah. Stonewall's obviously tricky on this map, right? It is way too open. And castles, it is just tricky. Can he build a third castle, maybe more defensively, where he needed the gold to then take into Halberdiers? Big question mark for me.
Yeah, really tough. I mean, I feel like maybe it can't be stopped right now. And maybe that's the example that says, I mean, tournament's almost at its conclusion now, but says to anyone who might run an event, hey, maybe we make a decision ahead of time. We don't allow that to be played right now. Or maybe gets the new patch to come out for the devs sooner rather than later. I don't know. Maybe they're trying to sweep it under the rug. It acts like it wasn't a thing. But yeah, Viper up 3-1 here. And now Les is going to have to win 3 straight to beat the Viper in this quarterfinal. A really tricky task.
Oh, yeah, especially with how the Viper is playing, right? Yeah, even if we don't think about the unit too much, right? Let's just envision Viper played Hunt and did the same with
Tarkans.
Tarkans,
yep.
Right? Kills all the buildings as well. Very similar damage output against buildings. Less damage output against the war wagons, obviously. Viper still played really, really well.
Yeah.
Like the movement, the activity, the realization that he needs to snipe the MTCs now was brilliant.
I'm really curious on, like, it really felt like, so you get this feeling as a player over time. And it felt to me like the amount of Manaspa that Viper was able to produce was also a really tricky aspect of that. Because Viper lost his fish. How frequently are you seeing someone go for a unique unit that's Cav and getting upwards of 10 of them on the back of losing their fish? I feel like normally it's like 3 or 4. You add a lot more eco. You consider whether or not you want to produce villagers or produce the Manaspa. It was really nice from Viper and good eco balance, and maybe takes it back to the cost of the unit. Very well played. And you're right. Viper's like playing amazing Age of Empires. And now, like, you get that out of the way, and Veleza's got to win on Migration, Enclosed, and Border Dispute. Those are the remaining maps. Doable for Veleza. He's good on all those maps. But this isn't Viper underperforming today. Viper's looking really sharp.
Yeah. And lots of people questioned Tato's choices there with Georgians, for example, in his draft, high priority as well. Not too many people questioning Viper's Georgians now.
Yeah, true. Well, it was, I think, where did Jordan play Georgians? Did he play them on, Nomad? I forget.
He played Georgians on Four Lakes.
Ah, yeah. And he went scouts, and he was never able to get to the castle. Well, literally, it's so funny. No one was talking about the Manaspa or the bug or anything like that, and then we see it, and it's like, it feels like with anything strong, you need one example of it, and then everyone's like, holy crap, I gotta do that, right?
We had it, like, I think round 5 or something. I remember a Gold Rush game. I think Bald? Maybe it was round 4?
Okay, so it happened earlier.
Yeah, it happened. Like, it was played in this tournament, and people have seen how broken it is.
Yeah.
And there was nothing changed, and there were no bans happening.
Huh.
It is accepted to be in this tournament.
Yeah, it was discussed by those in power, one must say.
Hera versus Balz.
Hera versus Balz
won against Hera in game 1 using a similar strategy.
Yeah, got it.
Also, Hera lost, I think, 4 villages before the 11-minute mark against one single scout.
Yeah, so it's like...
Same game.
Yeah, same game. Yeah, I did see... I actually saw the 4 villagers going down, and I was like... I literally said to myself, because I was busy, I said, okay, Hera loses first game, then wins 3-1. And I think that's what happened in that series. But yeah, I missed that part. Wow. All right, well, recentering here. It is interesting. The positive of people getting bent out of shape about this, Nilly, is that people care a lot. But to the people who really care a lot, let's just relax a little bit. Okay? Let's just chill. Everyone take a deep breath. People don't like the bugs. People don't like it was allowed. People like it was used.
We have
all
4
fine.
bans for every player.
Yeah.
If Villiser accepted to play against the civilization.
Yeah. It is what it is, right? Italians here for Veleza. Portuguese for the Vipers. So this answers where we thought Portuguese was going to be played. And... we haven't seen Portuguese a lot of migration this tourney or even in TTL a 2 months ago. But in the past, on any water map, you look at Portuguese and say, you can do no wrong with this civ. I think part of that is because Portuguese got better on maps like Arena and Arabia. So maybe they were used elsewhere. But extra HP on your ships, gold units are still discounted, and a civ that Viper's extremely comfortable with.
Big thing though, Portuguese don't have fast fires. So fast fires typically dominates the sea in Imp. And Portuguese, therefore, likely to lose the water in Imp and have to win on land.
Yeah. I think Viper also changing his approach compared to what I'm used to seeing. He's going for the 1 dock, and it's 2 docks from Veleza with cheaper fishing ships. So I like the 2 dock approach. That's what we've seen a lot in the past. We'll see what they can afford off the back of this. But I think like Viper's second dock will probably just come up later when he feels the fish are more inefficient. But
now the second dock. I think both are kind of playing a counter strategy to the early dock on the main island.
Yeah.
And that's obviously the big problem on a map like this. You have no option to scout, except you're willing to take heavy losses in your economy by, for example, sending a fishing ship to the other side.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, and this... I don't want to say it's become the meta, but it has become a lot more common to see players do that. Is go for their little forward dock. Viper, no mill yet, which tells us, I mean, he could still do so, but tells us he's not going to go Blacksmith Market. And we have the mill for Veleza.
It's just not a fast castle build order, right? It is a build order to counter the dock on the main island.
Okay, so
there will be 3 fire galleys, then fishing ships, and you will still play Blacksmith Market, I believe.
Okay. I'm curious. I guess then you've got to bring in a lot of food, right? You're not going to be adding too many more fishing ships.
I think you might go up to 13.
Oh, you think he'll go 3 fires and then realize there's no forward dock and add more fish?
Yeah, well, you can't really break the opponent, right?
Yeah,
Fast castle is not unlikely. And I think Viper might be fine with 10, but I wouldn't be surprised if Villas, especially with the Italians, could add 2, 3, 4 more.
Okay, makes sense. I looked at the resources for Veleza. There was some slight worry that he wouldn't be able to get the food and the gold to go up. But it's actually perfect. But again, back to your point.
It's actually too much, right? Italian bonus.
Yeah, so could have even been up faster. Yeah. But the weakness here, you have 3 docks, but you've spent your wood on the buildings. So you do not have navy. So yes, Viper's a long way away, but Viper will have quite a few fire galleys headed over that way.
Yeah, it's such a long time though, right? Veleza even built transporter now. Wouldn't be surprised if he tries to get a dock up on the other side. Really good at sniping fish then. Viper added those 2 fishing ships. Veleza didn't. So surprisingly enough, Portuguese player actually has the advantage over the Italian player when it comes to fishing ships, yeah.
Really like the positioning of the docks from the both players. The original dock, you're almost fishing dry. Viper on the right. But the other 2 docks having more fish. This is why you always want to spread your docks out. Viper a fire to the north, and then Viper sending 2 to the south. And he'll find out where his opponent is, sure enough. Also, found a couple buffaloes, so he's going to scout the middle with that, which is a nice touch. And, man, Nilly, I mean, it's really smooth from both, right? It's just a matter of which strategy is better, and how the execution goes. And the answer, as always, is it depends.
Yeah, like, it's obviously pretty close, right? We will see Viper collecting a tiny bit more of resources. We have more center control for villages, so a tiny bit of different approaches there, which it's surprising that Viper only now builds the transporter.
Yeah. And Viper might run into that scout. Did Veleza get loom? Veleza no loom, which feels fine, I think, if you're the first to transport. But something to think about. I would always have loom queued. Veleza's got loom queued. Viper does not have loom queued yet. Doesn't have the upgrade. So if he shows up, and there could be army on the field, losing those villagers you send to the middle could lose you the game here. It's a big, big aspect of this map.
The villagers here building the barracks. Still no loom. Could he maybe forget that in the long run?
I have seen so many players forget it. And players that are amazing players. So I feel like it is an upgrade that sometimes players just miss. But it would make sense that you queue it after Castle Age. I think if anything, you want to do it before Castle Age with this strategy. But Viper has found a good spot in the north here with the stable and the barracks.
How many scouts are you expecting, though? Yeah, actually, we could have seen some. Yeah. It's a risky move. Some buffaloes being sent over to Villas' Island. Love that. Viper, is he intentionally, like, sneaking those 2 fires? I think he might.
Oh, the ones in the south. Interesting. Like,
and in the west corner. Yeah, I think that's intentional.
Oh. Sneaky snake there. Yeah, wait for the upgrades, maybe. Now, I'm a little surprised that Veleza has gone for simply the Spearman Monastery approach. But that's not that crazy, right? You know could be scouts out from the opponent. Getting relics is common. Veleza doesn't know Viper's on the mainland with much, but he's going to see 2 scouts from Viper, so knows Viper will have scouts on the field. And now both players are going to be upgrading their ships and looking for damage, but nice snipe there from Viper. Viper kills the scout from Veleza. He's up 3-1. Really sharp unit control there from the snake.
Yeah, really nice. And did he still not? Okay, no. He has the war galley upgrade, and now he's sending in for the fish snipe, and that could easily be 5 dead fishing ships.
Oh, that is so good. That is so good. Now he's just missing it though, Viper. He's just missing it, and he's going to run right into the navy from Veleza.
Oh, that's so fortunate for Veleza. Oh, so fortunate.
Yeah, because I mean that play was just sick. Viper gets 1, but loses the ship in the process, which is not the trade he would have wanted. The other side just missing a fishing ship as well, but it's just tiny little moments, and the Lightcap deny the TC!
No way! How?
I guess it wasn't completely walled, and of course Veleza's reacting to these sneaky fires. Just goes to show you've got to make your opponent work in all these different ways, and now that the TC has been denied, Viper has his completed, and Veleza's going to need a whole lot more control on water now, as he's going to try and kill the fishing ships here, Nilly. So there's some potential for him.
Demo goes in for the transporter, but won't find the kill there. Whoa, questionable move. Maybe could have gone for the fires instead.
Honestly, again, a situation where I'm not even sure he chose to do that, right? Like, there's so many things happening. He has the docks at home. He has his navy on the front. He has to send another villager into the transport. It's very likely that that demo just kind of went rogue there because he looked away.
True.
And that's that. Anytime you see this map, you have to remember that we cannot properly show how awkward it is to multitask at this level.
Yeah. Just look, for example, Villis's transporter. Like, villagers want to go over there. He has a water buffalo, drops it off. Like, it's...
Yeah.
It's wild.
And Veleza should know. Oh, God. Oh, God.
Oh, no. Not the transporter. Villagers inside. Ooh.
It's all right. They were very cold, so they're just a bit warmed up now. They forgot a sweater, so now they're very comfortable in that ship. Yeah, that's a great example, and I think Veleza would also know that one demo is not going to take out a transport. It always two for some reason. But that hurt, right? It's just simply with the Vil count. Viper's been able to get such a nice Vil lead because the second TC's been producing villagers. And the food count for Viper is really clean here. 26 on food versus the 9 on food for Veleza.
Both lost only one fishing ship. Right.
Pretty impressive.
Yeah.
I do like how Viper has shifted his fish further and further away from the side Veleza seems to be coming in on, but Veleza will be coming the other direction. Viper can kill so many ships here if he notices. On the right. Fish are more towards the north for Viper. Veleza's headed that way. This would be the perfect
Demo
timing for a demo.
Oh, you missed it, Tristan.
On the other side?
1958. I think it makes sense to go back. It was a pretty one.
All right. Well, there's going to be
Nothing
another.
else is happening.
There's going to be another demo in like 20 seconds. So I'll show the demo.
Okay.
And then catch up because I'm sure. Oh, that was a pretty one. There's going to be another demo on the other side soon from Viper. Velez is desperate, Nilly. I think I'm at live time.
And nothing happened at the left side.
Nothing happened.
Control was short. Yeah.
Well, Viper's got a monk there as well to maybe get conversions, and it just feels like Viper could just steamroll this from here. It's so smooth. He's got 2 relics already. Lightcav found the new TC from Veleza. So active with Lightcav. I love the Lightcav edition. That's no secret to you, because we've talked about it a lot. I think it offers a lot here on this map.
Yeah. Obviously super fast unit, great against monks, and Viper with his 11 fishing ships, simply floating a lot of wood, so makes sense.
Yep.
Food.
And resources will continue to climb for Viper. It is cheaper, though, for the Italians to get dock technologies and to go up to the next stage. And Viper has just played this pretty smoothly. I'd say the next aspect, the next piece of this very complicated migration puzzle would be a castle. And oftentimes, if you have map control with Lightcav, you're going to want a castle forward. And that hill was just made for a Viper castle right there.
And that's why Villis might be building the house there.
Yeah,
he wants
true.
to maybe block this one off, but I'm not sure how much HP you will get on that house.
Yeah. At least, like, having the house there would give you a little bit of knowledge and vision if you completed it. I don't know why Viper's letting the villager live. But
Kinda
Viper's
weird, right?
gonna kill the villager anyways, drop the castle, and oh man, it feels like you have to stop this castle. That is such a good castle.
Has 2 monks. Those spearmen won't do much. I think the monks of Villis should die or at least jump into the town center. 2 monks down. This is looking good for the Viper.
Yeah. Super smooth today, Nilly. Like, just the timings. Right? Like, there have been times, right, where, you know, Viper, maybe fatigue, maybe the cleanness of his builds, you know, the transitions, the timings haven't been there. This has been peak Viper today. So good. So clean. Velez is playing amazing, but it was really just comes back to the Lightcav denying the TC. That really set him back, and Viper's had even more fishing ships than the Italians this entire game, which is crazy.
And I said it, right? I expected people to add more fishing ships, but that's not what Villis did. Viper squeezed in 2 more, and, well, those 3 fishing ships have been fishing for what feels like 14, 15 minutes now.
Yeah, agreed. So, in this position, you know Viper's going to go imp. If Viper's an imp before you, you're in big trouble. You got to try and go up. That's what Velez is doing. He'll have the stone for his own castle. You're still thinking about your bonuses here and feeling like I could potentially be imp faster because it's cheaper for me. So if you think that way, your castle's pretty close to where Viper's castle is if you're Veleza.
I think that's kind of one of your winning conditions, yeah. If Viper's up to imp earlier, it will be so tricky, but how close can you build it with 3 organ guns on the field already?
Yeah, I agree. And it's so tricky now, and Viper just completed all the steps. He got all the timing right. Everything's been super smooth. And we're going to have Veleza consider a condo landing. I actually like this. We've had players in better positions never consider a condo landing. I think him getting, well, squires and getting infantry at least indicates condos. I don't know if the landing's a possibility, but...
I'm sure squires is the most important upgrade here, but yeah, certainly the armor.
Hey, hey, come on now. Squires is great, man. A little bit of speed, run away from all the bullets.
But you're most likely landing the Viper's starting island, no?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm just not sure. Viper still has a decent amount of navy.
It doesn't hurt. It's super cheap.
Yeah. I think fact of the matter is, it's going to take more than squires for Veleza to be able to push double castle stack from Viper. I mean, Viper's making a lot of organs. Condos are good against gunpowder. I haven't actually seen condos against the new organs, but I would imagine that organs still do a really nice job.
Well, especially if you have some monks around. Just imagine like 2 condo conversions and then the organs deal with the rest. I think this should be pretty solid. Viper now also drops 5 archer range instantly, so not unlikely that he just instantly goes for Arbalest.
Yeah, and has bracer, so it would make sense to see crossbowman clicked and eventually arbs, and that's where the condos struggle. They kind of look like a Huskarl. They look like a budget Huskarl. They're not really Huskarl-like. They're not anti-archer. They're just solid enough stats, but against archer fire, they will struggle. Do you got a Fatoria here if you're Viper? Just like one of them?
I think if you're 110 villagers, you don't want one, no. Actually, you don't want one.
Yeah, I agree.
It sounds weird, but Fatoria are more like you know that you're limited in resources eventually, or you don't have enough villagers.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I think the balance of Fatoria is in such a state where it works on the back of an all-in, or if you are just straight up like gonna run out of resources on the map. But if you're at 100 plus vills, adding a Fatoria could actually hurt you. That's my thought anyways.
Let's test how good the condos are going to be here. Obviously against villagers, pretty solid. Let's take a look at the damage output against the organs.
Not the craziest, but this... Yeah, no, it's still really good. And Viper gets the double gate down. And those condos have to run away. And this is like... I mean, he's committed everything to this, right? He's going for armor on these. He's going for Pivise to add a little bit more armor. It has to be condo for Veleza to have any chance.
But look at that. In the mass, that won't really work out. Villagers at the left, are they trying to squeeze through there? No, not really going to happen. Bombard cannons would need to find some kills, but kind of tricky against the mass amount of land army that Viper already has.
Viper's going to continue to build this castle. It will be on fire when it completes. And he's also bringing in the crossbows, which will be Arbalest soon, and that will mean death for the condos too. That bomber cannon needs to stay alive for Veleza. He's going to back away with it, but he has to dive with the condos in order to save the cannons. Castle for Viper still on the way up. Viper still trebbing as well. The organ guns go down pretty quickly here, so it's good for Viper that he continued... sorry, he didn't continue with the organs, and he switched into Arbalest. And he deletes that castle.
Yeah, obviously still lost a lot of stone, but the castle on the other side of Veleza will fall as well against 1 bombard cannon and 2 traps. Nice shot against the Arbalest.
A nice shot. How is this castle still standing for Veleza? It's not going to, after I say the words, of course, and now you're going to have, like, I mean, with Viper's resources, he could easily get up to 30, 40 Arbalest, 5 or 6 cannons, and this the entirety of Castle Age and Imperial Age as the cannons continue to hit shots.
10 bombard cannon kills.
You know, the eco has been better and better for Viper, so Veleza needs more trades like this to have any chance.
Condos diving for the bombard cannons. We'll get one, but I think that's kind of it, and that costs a lot of condos.
Yep, and then the bombard cannon ventures forward, and Veleza taps out, calls the GG. Viper looked so good today. And Veleza, I know there's been some questions, perhaps, over the last, year. He's, I think, full-time studying and all that stuff, not necessarily full-time age. I think he looked amazing today as well, Nilly. This is just great stuff from Viper. Every map the whole way through, good strategy. The Mongols versus the Teutons was a nice little prediction from him, as well as the Manasa play in Game 3, or I guess Game 4, sorry, and then the beautiful play here with Portuguese Game 5. Just all the tiny details were there for Viper. He moves into the semifinal.
Will is certainly a seasonal player. Together with the Max as well. In summer, they focus on studying, focusing on a bit more real-life stuff, and end of winter is where they typically shine, I feel.
Yeah, well, in 2 months, it will be very much winter, and NAC will be happening. I could see Veleza qualifying for that. At less than 2 months, a month and a half now at this point. So Viper collected 10k more res, more of every single resource. You're just not going to beat Viper at this level, I think.
Yeah, that was pretty smooth. And honestly, this felt like really solid build order by the Viper. Like with the fishing ship at home and Veleza, maybe not greedy enough. He had an earlier castle age timing. He had look at that, castle age timing 140 earlier. But it didn't really matter because Viper had better fish and distance is so long.
So good. Let's say, obviously, it's less complex than this, or more complex than this, but let's say there's 10 steps for you to have a perfect game, right? Step number 1 and 2, maybe your initial build. Step number 3 through 5 or 6, what you're doing up to mid-castle, and then the rest up towards imp. Felt like Viper was hitting every step today. The light cav addition, the villagers hitting, getting the TC up, denying the TC, killing some fish, defending his own fish. How many fish did he add? Did he get the relics? Yes. Did he do that? This is so good. And oftentimes, I'd say that Viper hits those peaks maybe a little bit later even, the last year or so, right? Hits the semi, hits the final, then he starts to hit his stride. But I don't know how much time he's been putting into practicing, but it certainly paid off here. And he looked like he'd played these settings a million times, and he was ready for what Veleza had for him today. And that's an expectation we have on the Viper, right? That he could hit all those steps all the time, but it doesn't always happen for all these guys, and it did today. Good stuff.
He said that moving to Twitch will make him a better player because he had so many hours to fulfill on his Facebook contract that he couldn't put in the hours for off-stream practice.
Yeah. I didn't know that he had said that publicly. I never wanted to say that I could tell the difference over the last 2 years, and I definitely could tell the difference. I could tell that he would come in a little bit underprepared because of the hour obligations and all that. But what type of loser streams on Facebook? Viper streaming on Facebook? What a weirdo. Fun series, Nilly. Good cast, man. I had fun. The games were really good. This was really fun to break down with these two today.
Yeah. Okay. Then thank you so much and see you around.
All right, man. See ya.